The Trade Union Congress earlier this week called on the National Pensions Regulatory Authority to provide proof before supporting the implementation of the Tier 2 pension scheme. Trade Union Congress TUC says the contributions of workers were not transferred earlier to corporate trustees in order to yield meaningful returns, hence believes there will not be enough lump sums for pensioners. They therefore called for the extension of the implementation of the Tier 2 pensions pay. But Civil and Local Government Staff Association CLOGSAG in a press conference yesterday in Accra says the statement made by the TUC is untrue and asked that the dates for implementation of the Tier 2 scheme should not be compromised.
The TUC is claiming that the public sector schemes would require more time to invest workers' contribution before they could reach the level of lump sums equal to or more than what SSNIT would have paid. As the TUC is requiring proof before supporting the full implementation of Tier 2 schemes from January 1st, 2020, it would have been fair for the TUC to mention which of the public sector schemes gave that information. Again, Dr. Yaba of the TUC said that the contributions of most public sector workers were transferred from the temporary pension fund account from Bank of Ghana to the corporate trustees just last year, making it impossible for those funds to yield meaningful returns that could meet the expectations of workers and the pensions reforms exercise in general, unquote. This statement is not true. The government started paying directly to custodians of the public sector occupational pension schemes the 5% reductions towards Tier 2 pensions from September 2016. This important gesture from government would not have been skipped if the TUC had established a pension scheme for its members. Again, the 5% reductions towards pensions for private sector workers were transferred to their schemes several years before the transfer of the TPFA to public sector schemes in December 2017, and not last year, as the TUC wants the public to believe. The TPFA at Bank of Ghana was transferred to the custodians with accumulated arrears, interest compounded quarterly, and with penalties, effective 1st January 2010. Dr. Yaba again said that the objective, I quote, the objective would be defeated if the country went ahead to implement the final lap of the exercise. That's the migration of lump sum payment from SSNIT to private schemes in a manner that would disadvantage workers. It is important to know that SSNIT is liable to pay part of the Tier 2 benefit in the form of past credit for those who were members of SSNIT scheme before January 1st, 2010. Mr. Daniel A. Dumensa, a consultant on pensions, should be taken seriously. That is, pension funds are supposed to be invested, and there was a date for the implementation. So whoever was keeping the money from day one to the time that he paid the money should pay interest on it, because changing the implementation date will not change anything. That SSNIT ought to be made to pay appropriate rates of interest on workers' contributions in order that the envisaged benefits under the occupational pension schemes will be realized. It is regrettably that at the 11th hour, the TUC and its cronies are calling for another extension of the implementation of the Tier 2 occupational pension scheme based on flimsy excuses that are not supported by facts. CLOGSAG deems this strategy as an attempt to cripple and destroy this enviable policy on pensions. Teachers and civil servants spearheaded this policy on pensions, and CLOGSAG will not sit unconcerned for it to be derailed and bastardized on fake arguments. CLOGSAG will wish to draw attention to the following: that the statement by the TUC is misleading. The viability of each of the occupational pension schemes could be assessed by the schemes themselves. that none of the public sector occupation schemes had indicated that it needs more time or further extension. Anytime there is an extension of implementation of Tier 2, the monopoly of SSNIT in pension administration in Ghana is being perpetuated, and the workers will be better off if competition is introduced into pensions administration. 3, that there will be no compromise on the January 1st, 2020 implementation date. Reforms in pensions was put on the public agenda by civil servants and teachers. And we, CLOSAC, something that we have put, and then it is now an act of parliament. We will not sit down for TUC because of their selfish interest to derail this process. What they are asking for is an insult to parliament, because parliament passed this act. It's an insult to the Kufuor administration, because it was during this time that this act was passed. It's an insult to the Presidential Committee on Pensions. It's an insult. It's an insult to workers. And they must be ashamed of themselves.